Good afternoon, Youngstown. We're back again with another episode of Belly Left Leadership. Remember, our leadership podcast is derived from a simple football play, but it really is not just about football. It's about leadership and derived from a play, a simple athletic play, but it's about knowing your assignment, practicing it, executing it, knowing your assignment and your teammates and everybody doing their assignment, and then running it until you stop it. So, excuse me, I have a very special guest with me today. Someone I consider a friend, but also a very important part of our district. And so I have with me today Dr. Martin Freeman, who's our district ombudsman. Now, Dr. Freeman's been in the district for a while, and he'll talk to you about some of his other experiences even before he came to Youngstown. But right now, he is our district ombudsman, and I'll let him explain to you his role a little bit more, and then I can talk about why he's in that role. But Dr. Freeman, let's start with your educational and professional background. What led you to work in the Youngstown City Schools?
Yeah, it's thank you for having me, Mr. Superintendent. It's a
He likes to say that, by the way, but but go ahead.
it's a long story, but I'll give a brief summation
Okay.
to truncate time. I've been working for a foster care agency for 10 years in Cleveland, Ohio, and received a phone call from my mom's doctor that she had been diagnosed with cancer, and so I decided to, resign and spend as much time as I could with her,
Okay.
not knowing, the final outcome.
Right.
After I resigned, I decided I would write a little bit. I'd always been wanting to write. But that was somewhat derailed as a result of her cancer diagnosis as well. And so we started to run out of funds, and so I needed to get back to work and sought employment with Youngstown City Schools as a social worker.
Okay.
Interviewed for a social work role with Mr. Bowie, who was the principal at McGuffey at the time.
Right.
And the interview went well, and he shared with me that he'd be contacting me. But lo and behold, Mr. Jennings, who was the CEO and superintendent at the time, and yours truly, Mr. Batchelor, you guys gave me a call and went a different direction with hiring me. You hired me as a McKinney-Vento liaison and as a supervisor of the Mentors program. And that was my track towards coming to Youngstown City Schools, and the rest is history.
So, our board member, Joe Moranto, who used to be a superintendent in Youngstown, we always kind of joke back and forth about hiring good people. Anybody good, he always takes credit for hiring them. So I take credit for hiring Dr. Freeman, even though Mr. Bowie interviewed him first, but we'll take credit for him being a good hire in Youngstown. So tell us about your previous leadership experiences. How did they build you to be able to do what you're doing right now?
Thank you for that question. My leadership background is varied. My leadership process began as a non-commissioned officer in the United States Army, where I was a supervisor of the personnel department, which was responsible for soldiers' leave, soldiers' evaluation, soldiers' deployment. And from there, I left the military and started working for Mahoning County Children's Services as a supervisor for the Independent Living Program.
Okay.
And then from there, I went to Education Alternatives, an alternative schooling program in Bedford, Ohio, for struggling students who struggle with mainstream classwork.
Right.
From there, I went to a foster care agency where, again, I had been for 10 years, called SAFI, where I was the clinical supervisor of a group of 23 clinicians and social workers. And so all of those positions of leadership really prepared me for this role as ombudsman. And I would say that every one of those stops, the supervisors that were responsible for overseeing me taught me how to look, listen, and learn. And I'm forever indebted to them because of what they taught me.
Right.
But Mr. Superintendent, I would also say that the track coaches that I had along the journey were also responsible for preparing me for leadership as well. Mr. Robert Trebekowski was my middle school track coach,
Okay.
who really instilled in me a work ethic. And then my high school track coach, which is like a surrogate father to me to this day, we play
Okay.
golf together,
Okay.
James Patterson, he instilled in me the power of resilience. And then
We're going to talk about that word in a little
Yes,
bit. So.
yes, and then my college coach, Orrin Richburg, who was an Olympian himself, he really spoke to me about commitment.
Okay.
And then my Olympic training coaches, when I was in the Army, I was part of the All-Army track and field team.
Mm-hmm.
On my way to the Olympic Games through the Olympic trials, I had Willie Davenport, who was an Olympian, and Maurice Green, who was an Olympian. They were both my coaches. And they were really tough on me because they saw a great potential in me. And so I'm forever indebted to all of those leaders who spoke life into me along the way to coming to Youngstown City School District.
Yeah. So listen, we're not going to just gloss over the fact that this man was the truth on the track. Talk to the people a little bit more about your career and I know you talked about the mentorship and the leaders, but talk to us about what that career looked like.
Well, it really started in high school. I was an All-American in high school.
Okay.
A two-time state champion, and just relished, behind being able to compete at the highest level.
Mm-hmm.
And then after leaving, high school, I went to college and was an All-American in college at Kent State University. And actually, Thomas Jefferson, who did make the Olympic team and won the bronze medal in the 200 meters, was my roommate.
Really?
And so I relished, the fact that I had the opportunity to compete at the highest level.
So you ran, tell me, what events did you run?
So I ran the 100,
Okay.
and my best overall time was 10:32,
Okay.
which I needed to run a little bit faster to make the Olympic team, but the experience was great.
Oh,
I ran 20.7 in the 200 meters.
Okay.
And by the way, there's only 3 men that has ever run 9.5 or better in high school in Cleveland, Ohio. That's yours truly, Martin Freeman,
Yeah.
Jeff Phillips from Columbus, and Jesse Owens
Josie Owens.
from East Tech.
Man, that's a pretty good claim to fame, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's
Yes,
good
sir.
stuff. And that's those are the people we have in Youngstown working with your kids. That not just because he was a great track star, but the lessons you talked about, the lessons that you learned, and the things that you learned in the athletic fields, and then be able to translate those over into real life, into fatherhood,
Yes.
into professional mentor, those types of things. The things that we're trying to make sure that we impact into our young people. And even just so the public knows, even though we moved Dr. Freeman into the ombudsman role for a lot of different reasons, his reach is far-reaching. He's the person that we kind of look to, and I look to be a part of conversations that we're having, and when we're talking about developing our scholar athletes, making sure they have good mentors in front of them, good programming in front of them, professional development. He and I vibe on the fact that we believe in professional development. We believe that we always have to get better at what we're doing, and so he's done a great job in his previous roles as supervisor of our social services program. We have our whole quadri of social services within our district, and it's thanks to him in building that up. We had the vision, and he put it into reality. And then now that it's pretty much running itself, we have some great people doing some great things with our young people. We're able to use his true listening skills. And so let's talk a little bit about the skill set that you have, and being a true listener, and how is that really helping you in the ombudsman role?
It's helping me in the ombudsman role by way of leading with meaning and not just instruction. So let me clarify that, leading with meaning and not instruction.
Mm-hmm.
When a scholar is struggling with behavior,
Mm-hmm.
when a teacher is frustrated in their classroom,
Right.
when I'm brought challenges of the district to the table, leading with meaning means I use my storytelling, my writing ability to interpret the story behind what it is that's caused the behavior of a scholar, the frustration of a teacher, the challenges of a district. Is it pain? Is it fear? Is it unmet needs? Is it role ambiguity? Is it miscommunication or lack of communication that's caused these challenges, these frustrations, these behaviors? So it's a blessing to be able to have the acquired skill of listening. And we'll talk a little bit about listening a little bit later, but that's what's behind being a really good ombudsman, dealing with alternative dispute resolutions and helping those who come into that safe zone, my office, to help them to resolve their own conflicts. I'm just the listening ear to guide them along the way.
So I want the community to understand. I mean, Dr. Freeman is not the first ombudsman that Youngstown City's had. Okay, there was a gentleman by the name of John Allen, I believe, that served as a ombudsman some years ago. But probably in the last 15 years or at least 12 years, the district really hasn't had an ombudsman. We've had other different folks that have done some different things. And in my time in the district, being here 8 years, first starting as a principal, then chief of staff and deputy superintendent, and then having the opportunity to be superintendent, what we've noticed is that good or bad and right or wrong, we know that sometimes folks feel unheard, whether it be community members, whether it be staff members, whether it be parents, guardians, whether it be scholars. And we felt it important as we've done research through the years that we didn't want the voices to go unheard. Now, y'all know me, and I say all the time, we're not Burger King. Now, that doesn't mean the customer's always right, but we do need to listen. We need to hear what folks are saying, and we need to try to come to, like he talked about, dispute resolution, because perception is reality, and if folks feel like they're not heard, that creates a negative connotation in the district, and we do not want that. We believe that we are the premier school district in the Mahoning Valley. Whether people want to admit that or give us credit for it or not, and we know we still have work to do, but that's what we are, that's what we claim to be, and that's what we're striving to be. And anybody that has anything else to say, they gotta go through me, all right? And so having Dr. Freeman in this role gives us that person that is willing to listen, knows how to listen, and then offer dispute resolution opportunities for both sides. Technically, he works for the district, but he has permission to speak freely to me. And to our board, to be honest with you, and so we have him report out, and he has permission to speak freely and say, Mr. Superintendent, we're not doing what we say we need to do. We're not defending the why. We're not doing what we told our community that we would do. That is his job, to say those things to us when it's appropriate. And there are times when he has to say those things, and I appreciate him having that ability to do that and do it in a respectful but stern way to make sure we are living our creed and living our model. And so, Doc, you talked about, you've been an author, you've been a writer, you talked about storytelling. Talk to me about how do you build that trust? Because a lot of times when people come to you, they're not coming to you in a happy place. And so how do you build that trust? How do you do that active listening, or what is it that you utilize in order to be able to gain that trust from those stakeholders?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Superintendent. I believe that my office is a sanctuary. It's a safe haven. It's a place of tranquility and peace. And so when those who make appointments come in to see me, the first thing I want to do is to ensure that they're safe, ensure that they're heard, that they're listened to. I always greet them when they come in with a handshake. I ask them, would they like coffee, tea, or water, just to help them to make the adjustment to coming into the office and feeling comfortable, because I know that they're skeptical. And I want to reduce some of their skepticism by creating an environment that's conducive to one, me listening, and them pouring out, what they're thinking and feeling in their communication with me. Also, I want to make sure I establish a clear role and limitation. My role and limitation as an ombudsman, my role is to be informal, independent, impartial, and confidential. And so I go over, a brief spiel with them about what it means to be informal, independent, impartial, and confidential. And then the limitations of my role. I want them to know that this role is consensual. It's about mediation, it's about negotiation. When it moves beyond that process, now it becomes litigious, and that is beyond my role. Now it becomes an HR role.
Right.
So I want them to know exactly, my role and my limitations, and then I want them to know that I'm going to follow up without them asking.
Okay.
I want them to know that I'm going to validate what they're sharing with me by way of hearing and listening. Mr. Superintendent, I have to slow down right here and say that, hearing and listening are two different realities.
Yes.
Hearing is passive, listening is active. Hearing is what we do without even thinking about it.
Okay.
But listening must be intentional. And so I want them to know that I don't just hear them,
Okay.
that I'm listening to them, so that I can make a better evaluation of what needs to happen next after they leave the office, as well as, I've made it the way I approach the session with them is without notes, without writing.
Okay.
Because then they know that I'm listening to them. And so that acquired skill of listening is critical, because I have to then go back and remember what we've talked about, so that I could then jot down notes after they leave, because that helps them to feel comfortable and not be skeptical as well. First thing a person come into a meeting and they see you with a pen or your tablet, they're already
already on guard.
skeptical and on guard. And so I've made a habit. That's what I was trying to say earlier. I made a habit of just being able to listen to them without taking any notes, and then jot down notes after they leave.
That's good stuff. Good technique. I'm gonna pick that up to borrow that one. All right. So talk to me about how you define leadership.
Another great question, Mr. Superintendent. I use the 4 C's.
Okay.
First of all, clear direction,
Okay.
calm in the midst of pressure, a commitment to people, and then climate and culture shaping. So let me address those 4.
Mm-hmm.
Clear direction, meaning as a leader in this district, and defining leadership, clear direction is essential. What is the mission and the vision of the district?
Mm-hmm.
And how am I, as a leader, to carry out that vision and that mission to disseminate the information necessary for others around me in my sphere of influence to understand the vision and mission, and understand my role within the vision and the mission. So clear direction is critical to me for leadership. And then being calm under pressure. You and I have a friend, a great poet, Edgar Guest, who said, when you're up against a trouble, meet it squarely face to face. Lift your chin, set your shoulders, plant your feet, take a brace. If it's vain to try to dodge it, do the best that you can do. You may fail, you may conquer, but see it through. And so being able to exhibit, model a calmness as a leader in the midst of all of the chaos and confusion that happens in a school district is critical. And so part of leadership to me is, being able to exhibit a sense of peace and tranquility in difficult times. And then thirdly, commitment to people. It's all about relationships. Leadership has to have a necessary influence of relationship. Let me say that again, an influence of relationship. People have to know that you care. Theodore Roosevelt said it this way. He says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Absolutely.
And so I, as a leader in this district, want people to know that I care, that I may be firm, but I'm fair.
Yeah.
And that I want to build relationship with them. And so that when times are difficult, they can depend on me to be in relationship with them, whether good, bad, or indifferent
Right.
that I'm in relationship with them. And then lastly, I call the fourth C, culture and climate shaping. I'm a shaper of culture and climate as a leader in this district.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you talk about culture, you know, culture is what we believe here in the district.
Mm-hmm.
Climate is about how the atmosphere, you know, how people feel in the district.
Right.
I want people to know that when they come into the Ombuds office, it is a place of culture. It is a place that has beliefs, values, norms, and is predicated on behavior. And that also my office is a place of climate. When they come in, I want them to feel a mood of peace, a mood of tranquility, a mood where they can be comfortable in sharing their concerns, their thoughts, their feelings. And so I feel that the same should happen across the district for every leader in our district. They should be culture and climate shapers. What does a person see when they walk into Voney Rogers Elementary School? What do they see when they walk into Cheney High School?
Right.
What do they see when they walk into East High School? Do they see the beliefs, the values, the norms, the behavior that we've set as our culture? And then climate, what is the mood when we walk into the superintendent's office? What is the atmosphere when we walk into Rec Middle School?
Yeah.
What is the atmosphere when we walk into Harding Elementary School? It should be the same across the entire district. And as leaders, we are responsible for being culture and climate shapers.
Well, I always kind of end the show with asking the guests, what do they really want to tell our community? And I think you kind of started something down the road. So I'm going to ask you to just expound on that a little bit more, maybe issue a challenge to myself and all other leaders. You know, how do we continue to do that? I think we're in the process of it, but what you talked about is so important in terms of that culture and climate especially. So talk to us about how we can continue to build that in Youngstown City Schools, because I believe so goes our culture and climate, so goes the improvement of the district, including our young people you mentioned. What does it feel like when you walk into East High School or Cheney High School? Our young people have some responsibility on that too, but it starts with us as adults.
Yes, I believe it's top down, Mr. Superintendent. It starts with our board.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with you, the superintendent, and trickles down to the leadership, then on to the faculty, and then on to our scholar population. But I believe consistency is the key word here. We're already in the process of building a strong culture and climate in the district, but we need consistency now.
Yes.
That's the key word, consistency. And I believe the more consistent we become with building a prolific and profound culture and climate, the better we will be down the road.
Youngstown, you heard it. Our very own, he's a motivator. He's an encourager to me and everybody else in the district. But you heard it straight from our district ombudsman, who is here for our community, here for our stakeholders. Let us continue to be culture and climate builders in the city of Youngstown, in Youngstown City School District. And so until next time, Youngstown, keep running it until they stop it.